Over a year ago, I made a Giving GP Shift a Second Chance video, where I did exactly as the name suggests. I tried riding in GP Shift again for a whole week, after not enjoying it during my first experience. I won't spoil the ending of that video for you, but the giving something a second chance concept was never intended to be a series. But yet, here we go again with the second installment. Because, well, the first experience of things aren't often a true representation of how they really are. And I tend to give up on things after the first try, instead of sticking to them and learning how they are to live with. Today's edition brings you earplugs. The concept will be the same. Riding with earplugs for 5 days, and then on day 6 riding without earplugs again, like I have for pretty much my whole life, except for the day when I bought these earplugs. I remember it fondly. It was a warm, sunny day in July. The R6s were singing, and that's not true at all, because I don't remember it in the slightest. But that's to be expected, because they cost less than $2 if I remember correctly. And the only memorable part about them was how unpleasant they were to use. But here goes day 1. Jamming something into your ear is not a natural thing to do. But while I struggle along with trying to get them to sit snugly in my ear canal, I'll tell you why earplugs ever tickled my fancy in the first place, even before they ever tickled my brain in person. Loud motorcycles are part of the game. That's one of the things that make them so much fun, in my opinion. But the bike that seemed to take it to the next level was the R6. The little 600 that never stopped revving and sung louder than the fat lady does for it all to be over. As good as it sounded, I would get off and feel my ears still ringing. With my already subpar hearing... What? I said, with my already subpar hearing, I was somewhat concerned that the abuse of a screaming 600 every day would damage my hearing, especially if I plan on doing this for the next 60 years. So I grabbed a box of earplugs from my local bike shop to give them a try. But after one try, they annoyed the hell out of me and landed in the drawer, never to be seen again. Phew. That took a while, but it looks like I've finally blocked out one of my senses. The R6 never worried me again, really. I think I just got used to its noises. But then the R1 came along, with its bigger and better noise, in a strange frequency that seemed to rattle my eardrums once again. So the earplugs came back to mind. One of my biggest concerns when starting with earplugs was that I wouldn't be able to hear my exhaust note. I absolutely love the sound of that cross-plane crank, and it should be appreciated in all its glory, rather than blocked out. Otherwise, what's the point of an aftermarket exhaust after all? And that brings me to day 2, and my main issue with earplugs. They are a nightmare to insert, and waste a lot of time. And this is partially my fault, because as you can see, I was not a big spender. These were not expensive and not strictly for motorcycles either, just general foam earplugs, but they were from a bike shop. The idea is to squash them into a thin cylinder so that they easily slide into your ear, and then they slowly expand to take their original shape. This allows them to take the shape of your ear and means they're stuck and won't just fall out when you put a helmet on or off. It sounds well thought out in words, but in practice, it's a nightmare. They hardly ever end up in the right place, and putting a jacket on, a helmet on, and gloves on is already a long procedure. So to add earplugs to that makes motorcycling an even more impractical form of transport. And this is what was so frustrating by day 2, because so much of your time is wasted when you're stopping and starting again. But this is why I also committed to a longer time trying them out, in the hopes that I would get faster at this and that it would frustrate me less. But day 2 wasn't the day for that. The funny part is that their website lists these as disposable earplugs. I had no idea until I checked their website. But this hasn't seemed to make any difference, and there are no signs of wear. The biggest issue on day 1 was less noticeable on day 3. The fact that it completely dulls out one of the most useful senses when riding a motorcycle, The concept of earplugs is not to completely get rid of all noises, but rather to lower the volume of louder noises. But that is not how it felt at first. You feel completely disconnected from the world, and like a car could sneak up on you any minute. If you've never ridden a motorcycle and start with earplugs, it's probably not nearly as worrying. It's more like driving a car, with the cabin getting rid of a lot of outside noises. But if you've ridden for years with open ears, then earplugs are a pretty drastic change. But that definitely got a lot less worrying as your hearing adapts to the volume it's now used to hearing. In fact, you start to enjoy being in your own little world. I found myself not even removing the earplugs when stopping. When shopping or taking photos, I would leave them in because it's oddly relaxing and comforting. Maybe it's just my ADD, but I'll take some focus where I can get it. I was so distracted by all the other effects of earplugs that I forgot why I had tried them in the first place. To reduce the exhaust volume so that my ears didn't ring after a ride and feel like I was damaging my hearing. But by day 4, everything else was less noticeable and this came to light. And they seemed to work. After long rides with a lot of wind noise and maybe a constant exhaust note on the highway that can often drone, or a fun ride wringing the bike's neck, getting a range of interesting tones. My ears didn't ring when removing my helmet. And day 5 was just another ride, learning to live with everything that earplugs had to offer, the good and the bad. Day 6 is what really excited me, a ride without them. No fiddling to get the earplugs in, a raw exhaust note, hearing bad drivers before seeing them, and possibly the ringing in the ears. And all of these were true, including the ringing in the ears, which at this point feels like a reward for a good ride. So, will I keep riding with earplugs for the foreseeable future every day? Absolutely not. Don't get me wrong, they have a lot of benefits to add to motorcycling. They didn't stop me from enjoying my incredible exhaust note, but they're a pain to put in. I didn't feel like the roads were more dangerous with them, but I did feel a bit disconnected from the bike in terms of noises like clunking into gear or the changing pitch as you slowly release the clutch. They did stop the ringing in the ears that makes me think I'll be deaf by 60. But a part of me misses that ringing. It's become a part of motorcycling to me and really is a ringing reminder of a good day's riding. Ultimately, the bad outweigh the good for me on a day-to-day basis. I will, if I remember them, wear them next time I go to the track because I think they'll be useful there. And I'll probably wear them on days when I don't feel like loud noises or on long breakfast rides, but not every day. If you do wear them every day, then you'll probably win the hearing test when we're 60, but it all comes down to your priorities. But anyway, that's pretty much it. It amazes me that something so cheap can be so influential. Let me know your thoughts on the topic. Thanks so much for watching. Hit the like button if your hearing might be at risk from loud pipes, and I'll see you on the next ride.